Every single day, millions of us are using ChatGPT. Students are using it to cram for exams, developers are writing code with it, and businesses, they're relying on it for massive automation. But have you ever actually stopped to wonder what is going on behind the screen when you hit send? Welcome to this Cloud AI Academy Explainer. Today, we're literally looking under the hood of ChatGPT. We're going to break down how it actually works, from zero to hero, in the simplest way possible. So let's dive right into it. When you ask ChatGPT a really complex question and it fires back this perfectly formatted, super thoughtful answer, it feels incredibly human, right? And that naturally leads to a huge question. Is ChatGPT actually thinking? Is it somehow out there searching the internet in real time and forming an opinion? Or is something much more mechanical and, frankly, way more fascinating happening behind the scenes?
Well, to answer that, we first need to define what ChatGPT even is. It belongs to a family of AI systems known as large language models, or LLMs for short. Basically, an LLM is a system that's been trained on just an unbelievable amount of text data to predict the next word, and it does this in a self-supervised way. Imagine a system reading billions of books, websites, articles, text conversations, and code files. By processing all of that information, it learns the deep, hidden nuances of how human language works. It figures out how sentences flow and exactly how different concepts connect to each other.
But here is the absolute ultimate difference between the illusion of AI and the actual reality. ChatGPT does not think. It predicts. It really doesn't ponder a question like your brain does. Instead, it uses all those linguistic patterns it soaked up during its massive training phase to mathematically guess the most probable next piece of text. It's essentially the world's most advanced autocomplete.
Let's look at a really practical example. Think about how your own brain works for just a second. If I start a sentence by saying, "The capital of France is," your brain instantly finishes it with Paris. ChatGPT's token prediction engine operates in a very similar, though highly mathematical way. It continuously generates responses just one token at a time. Now, a token could be a whole word, a part of a word, or even just punctuation. So going step by step, it calculates the capital of France is Paris. And the crazy part? It performs this token-by-token prediction at blistering superhuman speeds, literally billions of times over.
Now, we can categorize these AI systems by how they actually generate their output. Models like ChatGPT, Llama, and Palm belong to a family called autoregressive models. They're fundamentally designed to learn words, relationships, and concepts to generate text. It's kind of like a superpowered calculator, but for language. And this is totally distinct from diffusion models, like Midjourney or DALL-E, which work entirely differently by transforming text prompts into visual and multimedia content.
But how does an autoregressive model actually get so smart in the first place? Well, it happens in two major phases. First up is pre-training. This is an unsupervised learning phase where massive clusters of GPUs are just crunching raw, broad internet data for weeks, sometimes even months. This step costs billions of dollars in computing power, and its whole purpose is just to teach the AI how to model language in general. But a raw prediction engine isn't exactly a helpful assistant, and that is where fine-tuning comes in. This second phase shapes the model, turning it from a wild, unpredictable text generator into the polite, specific, and helpful chat interface that we interact with every single day.
To truly grasp the scale of what we're dealing with here, just think about this number: hundreds of billions. During that pre-training phase, the AI is adjusting hundreds of billions of internal parameters. You can think of these parameters as tiny, adjustable mathematical connections inside the AI's brain. Every single time it learns a new pattern or a new relationship in the data, these billions of tiny little knobs are tweaked just a fraction to improve its prediction accuracy. But what kind of digital architecture can actually hold hundreds of billions of parameters?
Section 4. Inside the brain. Neural networks.
So neural networks are the foundational technology that makes this massive scale possible. They're loosely inspired by the biological structure of our own human brain, containing layers upon layers of artificial neurons that process information and pass it forward. And the basic rule of thumb here is, the deeper the neural network, the more complex the patterns it can understand. Because these modern networks are so incredibly deep, they give AI the astonishing ability to write academic essays, generate complex software code, summarize lengthy documents, and fluently translate languages.
Section 5. The Transformer Breakthrough and Attention. You see, neural networks alone weren't quite enough to get us to ChatGPT. We needed a massive revolution. And that revolution is the T in ChatGPT, the transformer architecture.
This introduced a totally brilliant mechanism known as attention. Take a sense like this. The animal didn't cross the road because it was tired. Now, for you and me, it's totally obvious that the word "it" refers to the animal. But for older AI models, this was a nightmare to figure out. The attention mechanism allows the transformer to dynamically focus on and mathematically connect the word "it" directly back to animal, no matter how far apart the words are in the sentence. This gives the model a dramatically better comprehension of context.
So, with hundreds of billions of parameters and advanced mechanisms like attention, it is super easy to assume this system is just infallible. Which brings us to a really vital question. Does ChatGPT know everything? Like, does it act like a perfect, fact-checked database of all human knowledge?
Well, the short answer is no. Absolutely not. Remember, ChatGPT is a prediction engine. It is not a search engine, and it's certainly not a human database. Because it completely relies on generating the most likely next word based on patterns, it can sometimes string together sentences that sound completely confident and highly plausible, but are entirely incorrect. In the AI industry, we call this a hallucination. It's a critical limitation that you absolutely need to keep in mind for your own workflows. The model prioritizes linguistic patterns over objective truth, so you always need to verify important information.
So how do researchers actually combat these errors, especially for complex tasks involving math or logic? They use advanced techniques like chain-of-thought prompting. If you ask an LLM a really complex math question directly, it might just hallucinate the wrong answer. But as research proves, if you prompt the model to generate intermediate reasoning steps, basically forcing it to show its work step by step before it arrives at the final answer, its accuracy just skyrockets. It elicits this form of reasoning that dramatically improves its performance on complex benchmarks.
Section 6. The future. Agentic AI. We are rapidly transitioning from basic conversational AI to something so much more powerful. While ChatGPT is a passive chatbot, meaning it just sits there and waits for your prompt, an agentic AI is proactive. It autonomously interacts with its data environment to achieve defined goals, all without needing constant human handholding. The workflow basically relies on 3 steps. First, perception, where it takes in the data. Second, reasoning, where it uses an LLM to figure out what that data actually means. And third, action, where it executes a task based on that reasoning. This new do-it-for-me economy is already beginning to transform major industries, from corporate banking and institutional investing to healthcare and cybersecurity, by handling repetitive, manual tasks completely automatically.
It is incredibly easy to take this technology for granted when it's really just a blank text box sitting on your screen. But as we've seen today, the reality behind it is staggering. To quote a central truth of this whole revolution, behind that simple chat box is one of the most advanced technologies humans have ever created. It literally represents decades of research, massive, mind-bending leaps in computing power, and an entirely new way of processing information.
And the crazy thing is, we're standing at the very beginning of the AI revolution. From simple token prediction to autonomous agents running our digital workflows, the boundaries of what these models can do are expanding every single day. So the ultimate question is, what will AI predict next? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. If you found this explainer helpful, make sure to subscribe to Cloudsea AI Academy for more incredible insights into the technologies that are actively shaping our future. See you next time.